World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. And wherever you're watching in the world, welcome back to World Pro Racing. Tonight, it will be the third round of Mega Sprint Tuesdays, and we head to one of the most legendary circuits in Britain. Yes, of course, Brands Hatch will be taking you tonight for another round of Mega Sprint Tuesdays. My name is Kieran McGinley. I'm joined in the commentary box tonight by the one and only Mr. Chris Buxton. Chris, so nice to share a commentary box with you again. How are you?
Very well, thank you, good sir. Yes, wonderful introduction. Thank you kindly, Mr. McGinley. Yes, Brands Hatch, it's seen so many different categories of racing. It's such a synonymous name with pretty much anything with an engine. 2 wheels, 4 wheels, large, small, heavy or light, doesn't really matter. It's been to Brands at some point in its lifetime, and we get the wonderful privilege of seeing this the Mega Sprint Tuesdays head to this wonderful circuit. This is going to be good.
We do indeed, and it is going to be good, I can guarantee you that. At the moment then, it is Rhys Spence-Robb at the top of the championship then on 174 points. He's 14 points ahead of one Jan-Niklas Erbrich. Then it's Mikael Mercieka in third place, Sheldon Muscat in fourth, Matas Marquek in fifth, David O'Hack rounding off our top 6. And of course, these races are first come, first served, and they will be continuing all the way throughout this year. And if you want more information about Mega Sprint Tuesdays, head over to our website, worldproracing.com/events, and you'll get the full rundown of tonight's proceedings, including the fact that it's only a 6-minute qualifying session, and that decides your 3 20-minute races and the grid, the starting order for each of those races. So, Chris, when it comes down to qualifying, it will literally be a couple of short, sharp laps, and if you don't get it right, your rest of the night could be in serious trouble.
Indeed. No second chances in this series. Brands isn't particularly long, but it's very easy to get wrong in some very, very crucial areas. Druids is a very easy place to chuck it off the road. Hawthorne's Bend, if you lose time there, you carry that a very, very long way. Stirling's as well, one of the penultimate corner. You're carrying the full throttle quite a long way. So if you make a mistake there, you're losing so much time. And of course, everyone's got traffic to deal with. So that one mistake at that one crucial moment could really make the night much more difficult.
It really could. So you've got to have your wits about you. There's going to be a bit of traffic out there at this Brands Hatch circuit, no doubt about that. So the drivers will have to be careful about how they approach things. And one thing that's seemingly misleading about Brands Hatch is that when you get there, it is actually surprisingly narrow, especially in these GT3 cars.
Yeah, completely. Whilst the GT type cars are very used to dealing with the twists and turns of Brands, it's because a lot of it is very fast. The space that kind of space becomes a bit more of a premium. So as we're currently watching, as we're going through Paddock Hill Bend now, that drop there, it's now you've been to Brands. I haven't been to Brands, only in this virtual form, but you've been there. You know that's a damn long way down from Paddock Hill Bend right the way down before you then climb up again towards Druids. So you get it wrong there, and you go off into the dust, and you're losing a lot of time. That straight between Paddock Hill Bend and Druids may not be particularly long, but it's all pretty quickly. There's only a couple of places really where they're going to scrub off any significant speed, that being Druids and Surtees, that we've already gone through as we watch our championship leader Reece Spence Robb now heading towards Hawthorns Bend. That's not quite a non-corner, but you've got to scrub off the right amount of speed. Oh, kicking up a bit of dust on the exit of that now through Westfield. It's really easy to fly off the road there as well. There's a little bit blind going through that sixth turn now through Sheen. Yeah, the bump's right down there. That's exactly what I'm talking about, because you're not scrubbing off a lot of speed. You can lose quite a lot of time by making those very, very simple mistakes. He didn't spin, which I pretty much do in anything virtually I race here at that point. Now through Clark towards the end. There's only 9 turns in the full circuit, but they're all very, very challenging.
They are indeed, as Reece Spence Robb then in the team Bentley sets the fastest lap time in this practice session then with a 1:22.7, and that drop, as you said, Chris, just towering drop then. The stomach really does churn if you're not ready for it in these GT cars. You go then up Pilgrim's Ride through Druids, and then down the hill you go through Graham Hill Bend, and a very narrow entry, a very narrow exit on the corner as well, but plenty of runoff area on the right hand side of Graham Hill Bend, so don't be too nervous about running wide then through in towards the Cooper Straight, now in towards Surtees, back onto the power, then climbing the hill then as you make your way now towards a Pilgrim's Drop, and again downhill you go, and you can see where the corner's coming towards Hawthorn Bend, then chucking it down to 4th gear, steering the car in. Hopefully you've got enough air on the car to keep that car planted. Then through Westfield Bend we go through this long right-hander again. Watch out for the exit there. There's curbs and grass waiting to try and catch you out. Now in towards Sheens we go then. You can't really see the apex of the corner until you're already slowing down. In towards Stirling's we go then through this long left-hand. A bit of camber helping you towards the apex, but you're uphill and climbing on the exit. Back now through Clearways, and now in towards Clark Curve, the final corner here as you go over the crest, put the power down as the track descends again, and lots of undulation onto the Brabham Straight and across the line there. That's another very quick lap then from Reece Spence Robb. 23.3 was that last lap time.
It's a big old car, the Bentley. They're not kidding when it's nicknamed the Boatley, but it was handled with poise and grace from Reece Spence Robb there. As we now look at David Ohack for DJ Racing, screaming towards the line, currently in 3rd position, just shy of 7/10 from the top spot, and parks that one. You can't leave it in the pit lane exit, sir. Now it's one of the screaming Porsches of the category as we look at Slovinak. There's that again, that monstrous. That's definite. You'll leave your lunch behind with that particular drop. It really is a stomach churner. There's several corners to say that are really, really tricky. We're just coming through Graham Hill Bend now. Very easy to run a little bit wide there, but here Surtees is one of the more challenging corners. It feels like it never ends, and the apex is very, very blind. Now, Urica took quite a wide line through there. I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if that's not a push lap. Oops, someone's detonated one of the advertising boards on the side. Now through Pilgrim's Drop for Hawthorns Bend. Not an awful lot to worry about here unless you sail off into the dust. Now into Westfield. Again, not too bad, but this next turn, Sheen, is, as you were alluding to earlier, Kieran, it's almost entirely blind. So this is going to be where we're going to see the main mistakes happen, I would think.
Yeah, no, quite a bit of work from the car then, as there's a lot of change of direction, both laterally and horizontally, if you like. I've used two of the wrong words, but both of them make sense. But Slovinac makes his way through the final corner at Clark Curve, onwards then back onto the power as he makes his way towards the line. Currently 13th fastest in this practice session. He comes across the line and stays 13th fastest. He did set a 24.8, but it was not a valid lap time. There's James Mead then in the JBR Aston Martin as he now gets onto the power and onwards then towards the final corner at Clark Curve as he finds the way through. Currently 11th in the standings right about now. He has competed in both events so far and finds himself just outside of the top 10 in the championship. He comes across the line then, currently 4th fastest, and will stay 4th fastest again, only a 10th off of his best lap time so far. And this always alludes to before the practice session. This seems to be a session where you don't want to give too many hints away. You want to keep your cards relatively close to your chest with just 6 minutes to go in this practice session.
Look at that, Bentley Aston on a British circuit. How patriotic is that? That's fantastic. In the top four, there's of course the Nissan that's breaking that flow a little bit as we see the third positioned Bentley at the moment of Miles Dixon for Pulse Esports. Yeah, absolutely true. There'll be a few people just holding a few cards to their chest, but also, yeah, the mind games really do start here because you know how hard you're pushing and you know what times are on the board. If you've pushed absolutely everything you've got and you're still half a second behind somebody else, it does play on your mind. Equally, if you're towards the top end of the field, you know you've got that little bit in hand, it can help settle the nerves down. It can help just keep the mind focused. You know you've got a little bit more to push. So, yeah, the mind games are still very strong, even though it is a practice session.
Yes, if you're not familiar with Mega Sprint Tuesdays, of course, there are 3 20-minute races coming up, each of them scoring their own set of points. It's 30 points for the race winner and 1 point for 30th place, and the points go down in 1 point increments, so it really does reward your consistency throughout the entire season. As Miles Dixon then goes 5th fastest in his practice session so far. There's Silver Pyramids in the Ninko Racing Lexus, currently 10th fastest with a 1:24.3, 1.5 seconds off of the time from Reece Spence Robb. And well, Spence Robb so far this season has been proving that he is going to be the one to watch, and with the top 3 being rewarded at the end of this season, at the end of the championship, it's no doubt then that Spence Robb will want to take advantage of some big hitters that are missing tonight.
Yeah, completely. When key members of the championship are missing, that's when you really need to pounce and capitalize on that. I might be a little bit biased, but that Lexus done off make a wonderful growl. I know it's not a British mark per se, but well, it's owned by Toyota, so that's a lovely growl. Oops, as a little bit too deep into Sterling's there. There is a camber there, as you were saying earlier, Kieran. It's not that big though. You do need to brake it. That's one of my favourite turns in Brands. In most cars, you can absolutely throw it in there and it will stick pretty well. So we switch to Ash Knight in the Porsche for Slipstream Racing, currently in 8th position, just 1.4 seconds down off the current top spot, which is a mighty time sent by the Bentley of Spence Robb. Oh, there's one of the Porsches parked on the infield. That's the 215 car. That's Taylor. That was just parked on the infield there. Just letting some people go very kindly of him. No, not the ideal way of going through Graham Hill Bend. You can get away a little bit with mistakes like that there because it's not very long to Sterling's, but it gives you that much less time to get the car stable and steady for that never-ending left-hand turn.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, as there is Stuart Ladd then in the Porsche, making his way now through in towards this second sector as he now climbs the way through Dingledale, now towards Sheens, this flying right-hander, really attacking the curb as you make your way in towards Sterling's. Then again, a little bit of camber here, but you want to try and use that curb as much as possible on the inside. Now going over that slight crest, on towards Clark Curve, and through now in towards this final corner, this long right-hander, where patience on the throttle will be rewarded, but you have to plant the foot down at some point. Here comes Stuart Ladd then towards the line, currently 13th fastest, moves into 12th fastest with that last lap time, a 1:24.5.
Very McLaren almost-esque Lexus here in the form of Dario Mangian for MAD Racing. I wholly approve of the team name. Car number 77, working his way through the top end of the circuit, through Westfield, through Dingledale, and towards Sheen. That's the 215 car again. It's Mr. Taylor doing some sightseeing out there. We've seen him a couple of times just pulled over. Whoops! Well caught, sir. I mean, there was a fair amount of downforce on there, but when it's letting go like that, the downforce is almost entirely lost anyway. So he's decided to pull over and end that one as we jump to James Mead in the 505 Aston. All the tail slightly misbehaving there, coming through Surtees. Keeping that one nice and under control, just shy of a second behind the top spot at the moment. We still have the 6-minute qualifying session to do, so the times, whilst broadly representative, don't count for a great deal just yet.
Not just yet, but we're not far away from that 6-minute qualifying session, which at the rates we're doing here, let's say it's 90 seconds for an out lap. That's going to give you, well, 4.5 minutes to get some lap times in. So you're looking at best, possibly 3 flying laps at very best, to make sure you get the lap times in. And on a track where everybody's going to be fighting over that, that finite piece of track, that great bit of track that you all need to set a great lap time here, it is not going to be easy. As James Mead crosses the line then, 23.9 was his last lap. Pretty consistent, so that clues me in that possibly will be race pace related. Jonathan Seville then pulling off to the side in the Pulse SimSport car in the number 97, just over 3.5 tenths back from Reece Spence Robb. There is Silver Pyramids then, who has improved since we last saw him, currently now 8th fastest in this practice session, 1.4 seconds off of that lap time set by Reece Spence Robb. But we're winding down this practice session then as the last couple of cars just make their way through and set some more lap times. But not long now before that 6-minute qualifying session, and 6 minutes in a qualifying session, Chris, is not a lot of time at all. I wonder how these drivers are going to just prepare themselves for that. Do they try and get out into this mad rush onto the circuit, or do they just hang back a bit, wait 20 seconds and see if there's any space behind?
The ideal is to be at the front of the train. It always is, but yeah, if you leave it later, you don't tend to get nice time slapper there from Mr. Pyramids, nicely caught. But yeah, if you drop back a bit and let the pack kind of trip over themselves, yes, that could give you some free track. But if someone has an error, if someone makes a mistake, which when the pack is this tightly compacted, he's almost certain someone is going to go off somewhere. You are very likely to be caught up in that issue. So it's a gamble. I would imagine a lot of people are going to get out there very, very quickly to get as much track time as they can.
You would think so as well, and with only 6 minutes on the clock, every lap is going to count, and you've got to take into account of your out lap as well. 50 kilometers per hour in the pit lane, so wherever you are there, you've got to take that into account as well. So the drivers might be preparing for 3 laps then, so you want to fuel for that run, you want to get the banker laps in, but there's really no time to come back into the pits, put a fresh set of tyres on, maybe a bit of fuel as well, and then get back out for your second run. It's really going to be, you've got to fuel for the whole 6 minutes and make sure you keep your tyres in good nick.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's going to be anyone kind of doing the one run and then coming back in again. How many times have you and I made a prediction like that and it's been proven wrong? And here we go into the qualifying session with just a minute already gone, and look how busy it is. Look at, my goodness, look down by Surtees. There's a good half a dozen cars all scrapping for the same point. But look at this, David Ohack has got it absolutely spot on. He's got out there as quickly as he can, and probably helped by a pit box closer to the end of the pit lane. That generally is the biggest helping factor, but he's got comparatively acres of space. A few people haven't left the pits, curiously.
Yeah, so maybe they're going for the strategy of just one flying lap. That may be all they need, as David Ohack will be the first to set a flying lap, or at least he will be the first to the line. Good calls then from the number treble 2 of Chris Gooch, who's got himself in a really good amount of clear air out on circuit. So too, I believe that's the 505 of James Mead. Really good clear air that they've got. They can really push on. And of course, David Ohack, who was first out of the pit lane, so you would expect that he has a bit of clear air. It doesn't always work out that way, because you've got some drivers who wait about a minute before they get out onto the track, and sometimes getting out first onto the track might come back to bite you. But it hasn't for David Ohack so far, as he now makes his way on towards Pilgrim's Drop and towards Hawthorne Bend once again.
Yep, he's going to just down one gear, keep the car nice and balanced. Now, we've seen a few people just kick up a bit of dust on the exit of that turn, each of their own, not the tactic I would use personally. Now through Sheen, heading towards Sheen, over to the right-hand side to throw it and hope you've got your turn-in point right, because by the time you commit it, it's too late if you've got it wrong. Now the back Sterling's turn. Yeah, we saw a little bit of dust being kicked out there on the exit of Sheen, so you lose a tiny bit of time, but nothing too major. Now into Clark, keep the car nice and balanced. Very easy to fly off the road there and ruin the entire lap. Of course, they don't have any time to deal with the mistake if they do make it. Simon Crane curiously hasn't moved. So first time on the board is a 23.4 from David Ohak. Decent time indeed.
Decent time indeed, but look at that. More than half the qualifying session is gone, and we just saw David Ohak set a lap time. It is fine margins here. If you're going for the one and only run, as the Chris Gooch there in the Valkyrie Racing Treble 2 Ferrari goes fourth fastest, we've got someone off there at Paddock Hill Bend, and it's such an easy place to go off. Luckily, that gravel in the sim isn't anywhere near as fierce as the gravel that's there in real life, because that gravel there, if you go in the wrong way, will flip the car over. Luckily, the drivers don't have to worry about that too much here.
It'll stop you in pretty much anything you're in, unless you're in a truck or something big like that. But yeah, it's a very deep gravel trap there. I've seen many a thing come to a very sudden stop, even if they're only just touching the edges. We see Silver Pyramids then in the Lexus get a 24.8 on the board, just 1.5 from the top spot. There is David Ohak, our early time setter. He's been dethroned by, unsurprisingly, Reece Spence Robb, but only by just over 1.5 tenths. And David Ohak, of course, continuing on his way. Less than 2 minutes to go. The number 13 Bentley coming through Clark once again. Can he improve? Short lines it to the start-finish line. Not this time, a 24 flat for him. He's got enough time for a couple more laps at best. But, and again, you just saw him bouncing over the rumble strip there on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. Very easy to do, but it will cost him those crucial few tenths.
Here's Sam Atom then in the TNO Motorsports Ferrari, the number 92 making their way now towards the line. Currently 9th fastest, goes 7th fastest then. 1.3 seconds off the lead time so far. Slobonac has come back to the pits, and that's the end of his qualifying session. So too for the number 52 of Simon Crane. Has not exited the pit lane, and so will not set a lap time on the board. So that's a huge risk of starting pretty much at the back of the grid, as Seville now goes top of the table. 22.7 from the number 97 of Jonathan Seville in the Pulse Sim Sport car. Now puts himself on provisional pole position. Reece Spence Robb will be looking for a little bit of a response. He's only dropped 6 points in the entire series so far. That is how dominant he has been, and a full house of points last time out. He is really the man in form. Chris Gooch then flashing the lights of the car that's off into the grass then. As you can see, that's one of the silver Porsches then. That's the number 100 car, which I believe is Stuart Ladd, who finds himself into the grass. So Chris Gooch just flashing the lights. Oh, Bentley's gone round right behind. That's the number 48 car of Reece Spence Robb, who was on a flying lap but lost the back end, dropped it. That's pretty much his qualifying session done and dusted.
Well. So the mighty Spence Robb is human after all. And what a cracking time at the crucial moment for Seville there, as we see Chris Gooch, a cracking time there as well in the Ferrari, puts him up into 6th position. We jump to the Lexus now of Silver Pyramids. He's just been pushed down to 8th by Sam Atom now as more flying laps are finished. Seville's improved again. That's a 22.671 on the board in the Aston Martin. What a time. He's really on form. Dixon, I think, has just jumped up. David Ohak, I think. He's still running, I beg your pardon. So, yeah, still more times coming in. Can Silver Pyramids improve? Currently 9th. Yes, he does. Up to 5th position. Very nicely done. There is David Ohak in the Bentley. Still got some few corners to go. A few cars still running out there. This is when the tension really mounts. You know that every single corner matters, especially with how important this particular qualifying is, considering, as you said earlier, Kieran, it's for all 3 races.
Here comes David Ohak then round the final corner at Clark Curve on towards the start-finish line. Currently 3rd fastest. Can he improve on this lap time? Yes, he can. He goes 2nd fastest then. Moves ahead of Reece Spence Robb as Sari Stowe crosses the line then from 7th to 5th fastest. So Rhys Spencer-Robb starting down in third place, and it's a great lap from Jonathan Severe, which puts him onto pole position for the next 3 20-minute races.
Indeed. What a position to be in. And to set a great pole time that remained good enough to stay pole and then improved on it. Absolutely stunning stuff. Where did that come from? But that, you touched on that earlier, Kieran, of keeping cards to your chest during practice, and then just unleashed everything he had for the qualifying. Brilliantly done. Yeah, what a time to crack as well. Spencer-Robb will be quite upset with himself, I would have thought.
Well, we've got the 3 races coming your way very, very shortly. But before we do, we're going to go for a short break. But when we come back, we'll be into race 1. Welcome back then to Mega Sprint Tuesdays here on World Pro Racing. And if you're watching us on ESTV, Motorsport TV and TVM Sport, you're very welcome along. And how about if you're watching us on Facebook, on YouTube and on Twitch? Send us all your thoughts so far in this qualifying session and maybe even send us some predictions as well. Let's see which one of them comes true. If you're just joining us, you're just in time then. We're about to go racing here for the first of 3 20-minute races, and we have a slightly different order than what we were expecting. Jonathan Seville will find himself on pole position, David Ohak in second place, and then it will be the third place man, the championship leader of Reece Spence Robb, rounding off the top 3. It's a rolling start then, we get the cars rolling, and it's a very short run, relatively speaking, towards Clark Curve for these cars to get into order. Very narrow track here, especially when you put these mega cars side by side with each other, as they're raring to go already, but they've got to get themselves into formation right about now. As you'll see then, Jonathan Seville on your left hand side, now on the right hand side of your picture, David Ohak on the left. They'll surely switch as we switch the camera then towards that start finish line, and it will be Seville who have that inside line going in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Can he take advantage of that? We roll towards the line at that slow speed. The green flag comes out and we are racing then, and here we go then towards Paddock Hill Bend for the very first time. Then David Ohak will try and swoop his way around the outside as Reece Spence Robb will try and hold on to third place. It's a good start then from Jonathan Seville. He'll hold on to the lead at this race then. David Ohak in second place, Reece Spence Robb holding on to third for now. There's Chris Gooch and the Valkyrie Racing Ferrari, the number 222, gets his way up the field. There's Miles Dixon trying to have his hand then. He goes up into third place, moves ahead now of Reece Spence Robb and moves that Pole Sim Sport Bentley up into third place. How about Silver Pyramids trying to move up the inside of Oscar Saristo as well? That would be for 5th place. Did he get that move done? We'll have to wait and see. There is Dario Mangion then in the number 77 MAD Racing Lexus trying to find his way through the field. There is Saristo then, and he is behind Silver Pyramids. He's now under pressure from Ash Knight as we make our way through one of the many right-handers here at Brands Hatch, through Hawthorne Bend. Now we make our way towards Derek Minter Straight, through in towards Westfield Bend. Sam Atom then has got some trouble behind. There's a bit of contact between James Mead and Jurica Slovinac then, the Croatian, getting a little bit of a tap then, as now you can see cars go 2 and 3 wide so far. Slovinac will try around the outside of the number 100 car of Stuart Ladd. He gets himself onto the grass slightly. Oh, there's contact behind, and the MAD Racing car goes straight across the track then into the wall and manages to get into the gravel trap. Did he take anybody with him? I wonder. He did get a tag from behind then that sent him into that spin straight across then in towards Sterling's pretty much. I don't think he took anyone with him, but there you can see Jonathan Seville leading the way, then David Ohak in second place, and it is Dixon in third at this very early stage.
That was a shame. That was the first casualty we had. We got that far around the lap before we had an incident, and look at this as Taylor all over the back of Gotham Ready, but he's gone way too deep going into Druids. As we were talking off air, that this track is all going to be about pressure management, about just keeping your lines all well and good and knowing where to defend. Unfortunately, Reddy getting a little bit too distracted by the advances of Jack Taylor, as we just saw another overtake going on there. There is Stu Ladd in the silver Porsche. We switch to Silver Pyramids in the leading Lexus in 5th position. He's actually, Spence Robb's lost a spot since we last saw him, as that's a sort of move from the Porsche. Not quite. There was a look from Ash Knight in the number 9 Porsche heading towards Sheen Curve. Let's have a look at, I wondered if we were going to see Mangion. Let's see what happened. So we are coming down to 3 wide on the back end of the circuit. Yeah, he wisely got out of that one. We're now going through Sheen. There's the 43 bouncing around. That's Slovenia, and there it is. Just as that one mistake or that one tap that he had that sent him off into the dust. A great shame.
Yeah, and it looked like he moved left then towards the corner to try and take it, and then it was Crane on the inside who was sticking the car straight. That's one for the stewards there, as there you can see Crane going down the inside of Ladd then in towards Paddock Hill Bend. No remorse about that one. He's taken that position away. A very nice move in towards the first corner. A corner that can promote so much understeer. If you even take just a mile an hour, just a kilometre an hour too much into the corner, it will punish you. Oscar Saristo then in 7th place, and Ash Knight has managed to find his way through up into 6th place. Meanwhile then, Saristo will be in his rear view mirror. He'll be permanently have one eye fixed on this one, because Chris Gooch is right behind in the treble 2 car, as they now make their way onwards then towards Hawthorne Bend for the third time in this race. But Ash Knight will want to find his way past the Lexus of Silver Pyramids up ahead. Great battle for 5th place at the moment involving these 4 cars, and you've got Sam Atom right behind looking to try and get his way onto the back of this one as the Nissan then tries to go up the inside, going in towards the right-hander then of Sheens. Not very often you can make a move there as Ash Knight runs wide on the exit of Sheens, now going in towards the left-hander, now in towards Sterling, and he's lost a little bit of time then. Chris Gooch then having to just back out of that move on the Porsche then. Have to wait until the next time around. James Mead has really found himself onto the back of this battle. Then the number 505 trying to find a way down the inside. He's found the way down the inside. He's actually got a tow then from the Porsche ahead as well. Down the inside he'll go at Paddock Hill Bend. He'll grab the apex for the corner as well. A little bit of door to door then. Chris Gooch onto the outside, onto the curbing, and then you can see James Mead's got the position in towards the right hander then, going up towards Druids. Oh, contact!
Oh, trouble! No, 2 cars in trouble there. So that's Gooch. That's I think he was distracted by the Porsche ahead of him. I think it's Ash Knight that got into trouble there at Druids, and then Gooch got into all sorts of trouble. But that was, I think it was Sam Atom that was waiting there to allow Gooch. It was indeed the 92 that was letting Chris Gooch back into position. So he obviously felt a little bit accountable for that. That's Jack Taylor, who's now at the tail end of the field. The pink Porsche not doing so well. But what a move that was from Oscar Saristo last time around. That was brilliantly executed as we jump to Miles Dixon, who fending off the advances of the 48 Bentley. Is a Bentley trio there, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, as Jack Seville is enjoying his time up front with the, well, not a big gap as such, but comparatively large compared to most of the field. 1.5 seconds up front. There is Siriso in the Sol Nissan still being hounded by that Porsche of Ash Knight. We did see getting a little bit of trouble, but that was a great move from Siriso. Oh, that's Ash Knight. He's gone a little deep. He's managed to pick up the power though. I thought he may have gone a little bit too wide going down into Clark Curve. He's managed to wrestle that Porsche back into position, but right behind him, look at that. That's Slovenach and Crane that's right there to pounce if the opportunity presents himself. But that Nissan of Saristo doing pretty well in 7th position.
Just about there, you can see Simon Crane in the Pole Sim Sport Audi, the number 52, as they make their way now down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend then, in 10th place so far for the Pulse Sim Sport car. We've just had words from the stewards then that the incident between the number 52 of Simon Crane and the number 77 of Dario Mangion, that was the incident going in towards Sterling's. No further action.
Fair enough. Racing incident deemed to be between them. Well, I mean, Dario, it could have been deemed to have been Mangio's fault, but as he came off worse, then not really a lot of point applying a penalty to that. As we continue to watch the Bentley battle there going on. Oh, Saristo trying to defend from Ash Knight. Oh, well driven from both of them. That's the Nissan a little bit wide. Bit of a nudge between the two. Now right behind them, Crane in the Audi trying to do something about the sole representative of the German mark, trying to extend his position from 10th place. Doesn't quite come off this time, so we work our way through Sterling's. What a great ringside seat this is for the 4-way fight of which he is in. And look at that, even though Ash Knight trying to attack the Nissan of Oscar Saristo has got to defend very, very hard from Slovenach. And now Crane's had a great run through Clark's. He's going to try and make that one 3 wide. Whoa, he's dispatched of one Porsche, and he's got the other one before they get to Paddock Hill Bend. What a move from Crane.
Oh, that was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant from Crane. Then he had to get that one perfect, didn't he, as he moved across to the right-hand side, across of Slovenach to make sure he got the perfect line on the Porsche then of Ash Knight. He got the move done, and he's got 2 positions out of the back of it. Great move. Move of the race so far. There you can see Jonathan Seville then, currently 3.6 seconds in the lead as we are approaching the halfway mark of this race. Still 12 minutes to go, and it's Seville in the lead. There is David Ohak, who is under pressure then, you could say, from Miles Dixon in 3rd place. There's Rhys Spence Robb, who's found a bit more pace then and is now right onto the back of this battle for 2nd place. As you can see, the Bentleys all involved in this one, 2nd, 3rd and 4th.
Oh, that's trouble for Ohak. He's gone a little bit too deep, coming through Sheen, but does just about manage to recover before they get to Sterling's. That's going to put Dixon alongside, or is it not quite? The door just about closed. David Ohak parked his car perfectly on the inside, but no, there's contact between Dixon and Spence Robb. Spence Robb's actually, is he going to allow Dixon back into position? It does look like he's going to. Very gentlemanly there. Spence Robb was a tiny little tap. But yeah, the green Bentley of Spence Robb is allowing Miles Dixon back into position, even though that has cost them a position to Silver Pyramids. Very gentlemanly driving there of Spence Robb following that incident. He's now straight back on the attack again, but now they've got James Mead right behind them.
Yeah, that's going to cost them in the long run, of course, as Miles Dixon will hold position for now. But as you said, Silver Pyramids now goes through and takes third place. Reece Spence Robb gets a great run out of Graham Hill Bend as he now tries to get his way past now down the Cooper Straight in towards Surtees. Not normally an overtaking opportunity, this one. Reece Spence Robb didn't read the script for that one, and he's moved himself now up into fourth place. You can see James Mead trying to find his way through as well. Stuart Ladd going round the outside then as he tries to make a move on Ash Knight. The two Porsches now door to door as they make their way now on towards Pilgrim's Drop. They go, you can see that's Ash Knight in the green car then, who's got the outside line as they make their way through Hawthorne Bend, and Stuart Ladd has to back out of that one. He's not got the ideal line through there.
Well played from both Porsches there. That could have gone horribly wrong. Trying to go side by side through Hawthorne's is never ideal, but they negotiated that one quite nicely there. Simon Crane taking a bit of a liberty with the apex there at Sheen, but does manage to carry on unabated, being chased hard by the 43 Porsche of Slavenach. They're trying to make up ground on Siristo. Look at the ground they've lost in their own issues and battles. Siristo now quite a couple of seconds ahead of them as we are now over halfway in this race already. 6.2 seconds is Seville's lead up front.
Dominating this one at the moment, and it looks like here that the number 48 of Reece Spence Robb is going to get a 5-second penalty for that incident between himself and the number 94 of Miles Dixon. Pretty cut and dry there. I suspect it would have been a much harsher penalty, but I'm sure the stewards would have taken note that Reece Spence Robb did wait for Miles Dixon to get back up and running again. But 5 seconds will be added to the end of Reece Spence Robb's race, and we're approaching this point in the race then as we make our way towards the last 5 minutes. Now in this series, we see, actually, I'm going to interrupt myself, Sam Atom trying to find a way down the inside in towards Surtees. Not normally a place we've seen overtakes, but we've just seen one from Reece Spence Robb, so I can wipe that from my script as we make our way towards Pilgrim's Drop. When we head towards the last 5 minutes of this race, any penalties that are incurred will be carried over to the next race, as that Sam Atom gets onto the grass then and finds himself around, spun all the way around at Hawthorne Bend and into the gravel trap, and that's just simply just a little bit too much curb on the entry as he tried to brake, unsettled the car, and he finds himself into the gravel trap.
It's taking him a while to recover as well. The frustration getting the better of his right foot there. He would have been so focused on the line that his opponent was taking. He just took his eye off the ball, touched the grass, and around she flew. As we now jump to Miles Dixon, now into 5th position, of course, with the shuffling going on up front. But you can guarantee that battling is not finished whatsoever. Dixon now behind Spence Robb with James Mead right there, piling the pressure on in the Aston Martin down towards Graham Hill Bend. Again, there is a bit of AstroTurf there, so they can run onto that grass area without too much problem. Well, that fire was quite a long way off, Mr. Audi, of Simon Crane. But looking back from the Nissan of Oscar Siristo, he's now got company behind. Simon Crane has closed that gap down to just 3.5 tenths of a second when they last came over the line. So he's really got to get on with it. That Nissan's great in a straight line, but the Audi very, very nimble in the corners. So it's great battle forming. But it looks like Simon Crane may have the overall pace advantage over Siristo. But we've seen that Oscar is not afraid to put that car exactly where it needed to be.
You're absolutely right, and Brands Hatch is a place where if you can place the car perfectly, you can make overtaking difficult. There is Simon Crane then fighting the wheel, going all the way through in towards Sheen's, now in towards Sterling's, and then on towards that short run, the Nissan lighting up the rear tyres and the exit of Sterling's. This could be an opportunity for Simon Crane, but he's not quite close enough in towards Clearways, now towards the long right-hander of Clark Curve, and now on towards the Bradham Straight. Let's see if a little bit of toe from Simon Crane might help him on the run towards Paddock Hill Bend. He'll certainly think about a move up the inside, but not quite close enough to try and take advantage, and he'll be getting a little bit frustrated with that one. Meanwhile then, there you can see Reece Spence Robb has now caught up to the back of third place man Silver Pyramids as they now run down the hill then in towards Graham Hill Bend, and Reece Spence Robb has to be careful because he's got Miles Dixon behind him, and James Mead also fancies his chances. Spence Robb then trying a move then once again for the second time this race up the inside, going in towards Surtees. He clips the curb on the inside. Does he get the exit that he needs? No, it looks like Silver Pyramids has managed to hold on for now as they make their way down towards Pilgrim's Drop. There you can see Miles Dixon tries to fancy his chances then. He might actually get the position ahead of Reece Spence Rob up the inside they go, then in towards Hawthorne Bennett. He has moved ahead, so Reece Spence Rob trying to battle away. He's actually lost a position to Miles Dixon.
Oh, the Nissan getting very lively. They're coming through the exact same place of Hawthorne's. He just about managed to collect them and back up before they got through Westfield. I was expecting that Nissan to fly off the road. They're very lively characters at the best of times. But yeah, well driven from this pack here. Peermits, Dixon, Spence Rob and Mead. To carry on that kind of racing, all close quarters for that long without incident is pretty impressive indeed. But you can see Spence Rob in the 48 is really determined. That minty green Bentley is really wanting to make up ground, but move from Dixon, not quite. He's just showing his nose to try and keep the pressure on Peermits at this moment in time. The Lexus doing a brilliant job of keeping the growling Bentleys behind.
You saw there, Miles Dixon thought about a move up the inside, going in towards Paddock Hill Bend, and as soon as he did that, he realised he had to take a defensive line in towards Drew and says, there's a car around, it's one of the Audis, it's Simon Crane, who finds himself spun around a little bit of a half spin on the curbs as he caught that on the suspension, and will lose a position or two. There you can see he's just about recovered then. I think Slovanac has now got ahead of him, so that's only the one position he's lost. However, eyes firmly fixed as we head to 5 minutes to go for this battle for third place. Silver Peermits, the Estonian, will be hanging on to this by his fingernails, trying to hold on to this podium position.
That's so much pressure he's having to soak up. There's all these headlights staring at him as he's trying his best to hit his own marks and keep his own car on the black stuff. He's got to bear in mind that he's got to park his car brilliantly well to keep the very, very quick Dixon, Spence, Robert Mead all behind him. I don't envy him this position, but the spoils will be the podium position if he can hang on to it for another 4.5 minutes. Goes into Clark. Again, he just needs to broadly keep it in the right position. It sounds obvious, but with most of the corners being sort of medium to high speed, he doesn't need to do any major defensive work. Although, as I say that, that's an offering from Dixon, but he backs out of that one. Wow, a fair play to Peermits for keeping his nerve there. He could have easily panicked. Out comes Spence Rob then to nick the fourth position. If you're not going to have a go at Peermits, let me through. I'm going to have a crack at him. Oh, and Spence Rob beg your pardon. Dixon getting very lively on the exit of Druids. Almost allowed Mead through.
Yeah, and that's the problem then for Miles Dixon. He tried to move up the inside again and had to then go on the defensive. He had to back out of that, then took a compromised line going through Paddock Hill Bend. And as you're going down the hill there, you can see Spence Rob was just waiting for that move to happen. Goes up the inside, going up Pilgrim's Rise and in towards Druids, takes back fourth position. Now it's his turn to turn up the wick against Silver Peermits. Oscar Saristo then has got Slovanac right behind him for this battle for 7th place. The Finnish driver we're riding on board with the OSS Racing Nissan, as he's got Jurika Slovanac behind, trying to find that way through. Remember, Reece Spence Rob has 5 seconds worth of penalty, so he will drop down to at least 8th place if it were to finish like this. Reece Spence Rob then trying to find a way past. Has he got the nose alongside? Going in towards Clark Curve. No, not quite this time. He'll try and cut back though and get the better run on towards the Brabham Straight. But there you can see Silver Peermits placing that Lexus perfectly at this moment in time, heading on towards Paddock Hill Bend. There is Miles Dixon again trying to move up the inside. Might have just put Reece Spence Rob off his own line as they now run side by side up in towards Druids again. Miles Dixon on the inside, door to door they run, and now back onto the power they go. Has Miles Dixon got that move done? No, you can see Spence Rob still on the inside, heading in towards Graham Hill Bend, and there you can see door slammed shut then from Reece Spence Rob. He manages to hold on to 4th place, but Miles Dixon there once again thinking about a move up towards Paddock Hill Bend, and this time it put Reece Spence Rob off his own line.
Now, it's just one moment there that caused that whole sequence of events to unfold right back there at Sterling's, where Spence Rob was just slightly put off his line, exactly as you said. So, great driving once again for one of the James Mead's got such a great ringside seat for that whole battle kicking off. And actually, Oscar Saristo has closed in a bit on that warring trio. So, warring quartet, beg your pardon. So, it could well be that Saristo, if he carries on that kind of pace, he's not going to get involved in that particular battle. But again, he's going to make Reece Spence Rob's day even worse as the Green Bentley again sizes up manoeuvre on Silver Peermits, although that forced the Lexus to go too deep. That's what he was trying to do last time around. but Pyramids was able to defend him. Now Spencer Robb has finally managed to get up into third position. I think it's going to be a little bit too late, unfortunately. He's not going to be able to undo all of that 5 seconds, but his target now is to remain ahead of Saristo.
Yeah, Silver Pyramids here will have hoped that checker flag came 90 seconds earlier, just couldn't quite hold on to that third place. But at the moment, though, he's in the prime position to take it back. So long as Reece Spence Robb, in his point of view, doesn't get 5 seconds clear. Miles Dixon thinks about a move once again up the inside, going in towards Surtees. Now back onto the power as we head towards Pilgrim's Drop. There is the number 17 Ferrari then of Nolan trying to find a way through as Dario Mangion then gets that move done. Silver Pyramids there running side by side between himself and Miles Dixon. Dixon gets a clout on the door then and spins around into the wall. James Mead sticks his nose up the inside. Bravery is the word for that one, as he now takes advantage. He moves into fourth place, and now he's in prime position to take the podium position. It's absolute madness in the last minute or so.
That was so trusting from James Mead. He could have so easily been wiped out by the recovering Lexus, but brilliantly handled by all of them. But yeah, that was a great shame from Pyramids there. He's the big loser in that one, obviously, but there is your leader, and unless he parks it, he's 12 seconds to the good from Seville. Where on earth has that come from? I mean, he's capitalized very much on Spence Robb just being caught up in battles, but his pace has been absolutely blinding this race.
It really has, and it's gone to show on the timing sheets as well, as he does find himself 12.5 seconds clear heading on towards this final lap of the race. There is Jurica Slovanac in 7th place. There is your race leader, the Pulse Simsport Aston Martin of Jonathan Seville, as he now makes his way on towards Westfield Bend for the final time in race number 1. That's right, race number 1 out of 3. There's still more racing action to go. If this wasn't enough, the next 2, I'm sure, will match whatever we've seen here so far. In towards Sheens and then towards Sterling's for the final time here in race number 1. And then it's the short run through Clearways and towards Clark Curve once again. Jonathan Seville here in race number 1, bulletproof, as he makes his way back onto the power one last time in this race, and will take the checkered flag for the first race here of Mega Sprint Tuesdays at Brands Hatch and wins the race. David Ohak, meanwhile, in 2nd place, held his own position as well after a very eventful start. He managed to get into the rhythm and get clear of everybody else. He'll claim 2nd place for himself. Reece Spence Robb, well, this would have been quali lap after quali lap. Is it going to be enough? He'll get to the line 3rd place in this race. But what about James Mead behind? He'll be coming across the line very, very soon. 4.3 seconds, so James Mead will take the podium position. Reece Spence Robb will drop down to 4th place. Silver Pyramids, heroic defending, and he'll get 5th place from it as well. Oscar Saristo in 6th place. Miles Dixon in 7th. As there you can see, Ash Knight getting a little bit of a drift on going in towards Paddock Hill Bend. There is Stuart Ladd then in the number 100, will come across the line in 11th place, and the rest of the field trying to find their way towards the line as well. Gautam Reddy then in the number 710 Lamborghini. Round the final corner he will go, and Sam Atom will round off the top 16 with Jake Taylor retiring about 11 laps ago. Well, Chris, that was quite the race so far. Jonathan Seville showed us how it was done. Nearly 13 seconds to the good in a 20-minute race. That looked bulletproof pace.
It was flawless, absolutely flawless. I mean, you can argue, yes, it's easy to be good when you've got no challenge on, but we've seen time and again that one mistake, that tiny touch of the grass at the wrong time is so costly, but he just kept everything where he needed to be, and very, very well deserved win for Jonathan Seville. Last minute penalty for car number 94. That is Miles Dixon, 10 seconds for causing that avoidable incident we saw is going to be added in race 2. So he's got away with it per se for this event, but he's going to have to really motor hard to try and undo that. And considering that the likes of Reece Spence Robb couldn't undo a 5-second penalty, not completely, although in fairness he did brilliantly well to only lose the single position towards the end of that race, considering how long he was in that mighty great scrap for. You said earlier, Kieran, that overtaking is very challenging here, as we've very much seen people being rather inventive on where they're getting their elbows out. So that's going to be a very difficult task for Miles Dixon. But hey, that gives us much more great racing to shout about.
Yes, and of course, that's one of the rules here in Mega Sprint Tuesdays, that if it's the first 2 races and you get a penalty within the last 5 minutes of the race, it'll be added on to the end of your next race. So that will be 10 seconds added to Dixon's time at the end of race number 2. Speaking of which, go and grab some more popcorn, get that refill in. We're going to take a quick short break here, and we'll see you when we see you. We'll be ready for race number 2. Race number 2 of Mega Sprint Tuesdays is just around the corner, and if race 1 is anything to go by, I can safely say that race 2 is going to be fantastic as well. Will we see the same levels of domination in that race that we saw from our pole sitter Jonathan Seville? David Ohak as well, after a little bit of a dramatic start, managed to get his pace on, managed to get into that rhythm and secure second place, but it was anybody's guess as to who could have grabbed third place. And if you gave James Mead a little bit of a guess, then I would accuse you of lying. It's as simple as that. But Chris, we're heading into race number 2.
That we are, as you said off air, more of that please. That was a fantastic display from our competitors, and I thoroughly look forward to seeing more of the same. Maybe we'll see slight more battles for the actual lead position, but we will see. The battles throughout the field were fantastic for the most part, so thoroughly looking forward to this.
Yes, as we come to Brands Hatch, obviously lots of undulation. We've seen so many moves, or attempted moves at the very least, by at least one car going in towards Surtees. Now, you have to sort of try and imagine there's a corner going to the left and it's always climbing, going up the hill. So there's really, well, as I always thought, there was only one line going through there, but one driver in particular is trying to prove everybody wrong, and that's Miles Dixon. He's very brave on the brakes and very eager to see if he can just get a little bit of front splitter up the inside.
But that's just going to show that you have to be creative with where you have to get your elbows out because of the nature of the circuit and the way that these cars are very similar, broadly speaking, in terms of performance. People are having to do something a bit different to try and improve on their position, or break the toe, or catch up with someone ahead of them, whatever it is. So it's great to see people are trying these moves. Not all of them are coming off, of course, but we're not just seeing everyone mule training along. People are doing their best to improve on their position and trying some unusual tactics to do so.
Unusual, yes. Well, trying to get a front splitter down the inside of Surtees, I would call unusual, that is for sure. We've also seen a move in towards Paddock Hill Bend. We've also seen a couple of moves in towards Druids, but we've also seen a couple of contact moves out there. The stewards have been busy in their own office. We've of course got the head steward in Adrian Figallo and race director, and we've also got George Muscat alongside him, helping him out. And it's not been too bad, and hopefully it stays that way.
Indeed, we obviously had a couple of judgments come away, but you can't say it was a completely diabolical race or anything like that. So more of the same indeed as we head towards race number 2.
Yeah, the cars get rolling then, and of course the qualifying results dictate these 3 races. But I have to say, there's spots of rain falling at the beginning of race number 2. Well, this should spice things up. This should get a little bit slippery. Jonathan Seville then rolling towards I then as we get ready to get race number 2 underway. Is on the right hand side of your picture there. Once again, David Ohak on the left as we roll our way towards the start finish line. Can the Pole Sim Sport Aston Martin get a very good start like he did in race number 1? We're about to find out. Green flag will drop any moment now. Green lights are on and we are racing once again. Then Jonathan Seville will still have the inside line going in towards Paddock Hill Bend and takes it away from David Ohak. Moves once again into the lead of this race. Rhys Spence Robb getting a much better start off the line this time around, heading in towards the right-hander at Druids, then slowing the cars all the way down then. Having got through that high adrenaline start, you can see Silver Pyramids once again trying to find his way through. Jack Taylor takes the start of this one. He did retire from the last race, as there you can see that was Stuart Ladd trying to move down the inside in towards the Graham Hill Bend, and then Silver Pyramids very lively on the run through Cooper Straight. Now in towards Surtees we go. He clearly feels he wants to get back onto the pace and back up with a challenge of a podium position. Dario Mangion is trying to go side by side then with the number 52 of Simon Crane as we now run side by side, 2 by 2 going in towards the right-hander of Hawthorne Bend. You can see Saristo on the outside then as Slavenach tries to hang it on the inside. He'll then have the inside line going in towards Westfield Bend. He actually takes away the position. Saristo loses another place to Mangion, runs wide, loses another place to Simon Crane, and in that loses yet another place to Stuart Ladd. In the blink of an eye, Saristo has gone from 8th to 13th.
And that's what the wet weather does. It just really shakes up the field. Who has practiced in the slippery conditions? That's going to be the biggest question answered as we see Nolan there, the 17 Ferrari, did fall off the field, but he has got back up with this. We look at James Mead, who had a great ringside seat for so long last time around. He's got another one again, trying to go on the inside of a side-by-side Porsche Ferrari, but no, big punch in the face there to Ash Knight in the green Porsche from the Ferrari. Oh, Chris Gooch may well earn the eye of the stewards for that one, as he just gave the Porsche quite a whack, but through on the inside line. That's the Lexus of Mangian and the Audi of Crane that's gone through on the 43 of Slovenach, but that's what the wet weather does. It just creates such a different playing field. It often levels the playing field, but not everybody will be familiar with these slippery conditions. It's not absolutely chucking it down, but not yet anyway. So it's that really kind of greasy, quite slippery, but still vaguely dry kind of condition. It's a very unknown in a lot of circles. So, yeah, this is going to be fantastic. Well, fantastic for us, and probably very terrifying for the drivers.
Yeah, it gets to that point where, as a driver, you just want it to do one or the other. At the moment, it's just sort of a light dusting of rain. At the moment, it is supposed to get heavier over the next 10 minutes and then over the next half an hour. So expect this rain to stay for the foreseeable, but it's nowhere near conditions that will be warranting these wet weather tyres. These drivers will be sticking onto these dry tyres for as long as possible. They may even have to end the race on these tyres. There's no mandatory pit stop, so you will be rewarded if you stay out, so long as the track does reward you with that great pace that it has. But meanwhile, we see James Mead on the back of Chris Gooch then fancying his chances down the inside in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Not quite a way through just yet. They get back onto the power then. As you can see, Mangian has had a great start up into 8th place. He's under pressure though from Simon Crane, who fancies his chances up the inside going in towards Druids. Can he get that power down? Yes, he can. The Audi now moves up into 8th place in the Pole Sim Sport Audi there. David Ohak now has Reece Spence Rob behind in the rear view mirror. Now back onto the power, out of the left-hander of Surtees, and you can see there Reece Spence Rob doesn't want to hang around with this one. He wants to go side by side. He wants to get the move done going in towards Hawthorne Bend. He's got the inside line then, but you can see on the outside, they touch, and David Ohak goes off into the barrier there, and for another time there is contact between Reece Spence Rob and another driver, and that looked like to me, well, it was the Bentley of David Ohak on the outside, and that seemed to be where the grip was. Let's have a look at Ash Knight here, the number 9 Slipstream Racing Porsche, running down the Bentley straight and on towards Paddock Hill Bend. You can see James Mead on the inside, but we're watching for Chris Gooch, and yeah, door-to-door contact, and Ash Knight then having to take evasive action, getting a clout, getting onto the grass. And to say, James Mead, once again, somehow he's avoiding these collisions. I don't know how he does it. Meanwhile, though, I think he's just had a moment going in towards Sterling's. The number 505 is stationary on the track, rejoining now. And I think after all that, I think I've well and truly commentator cursed the number 505 of James Mead.
Unbelievable. How dare you? But what a drive back he's got now ahead of him. Sadly, Jack Taylor and the 215 Porsche has found grief again. He has retired from the race, as well as Gotham Reddy. He's been in the pits in the 710 Lamborghini. He's been there a while, so we may not see them again. But now Miles Dixon up into second position. He inherited that 10-second penalty from race 1. So he's going to try and undo that one. But look how lively the cars are as they're coming over any kind of crest where the limited amount of grip they've got just disappears. And yeah, these cars are difficult enough to go side by side with in the dry, and these drivers are doing a brilliant job in the wet side by side in more places than I sort of kind of gave them credit for trying, particularly here at Hawthorns for the last few laps. So we now look at Dario Mangian under pressure from Stu Ladd in the 100 Porsche. Doesn't quite make the move. Oh, we'll look at the momentum that's cost the Porsche though. As yeah, the Nissan stays nice and stable. Miles Dixon again under all kinds of pressure from Spence Rob. But once again, John Seville just romping off into the distance.
Absolutely romping away, as you quite rightfully said. The track condition, though, there is water starting to build up at the moment, but again, we're still really nowhere near from those wet weather tyres being mandatory. One thing that's occurred to me really is, how many of these drivers would have started on the wet weather tyres, or would they try and bank on these dry tyres, or the dry tyres getting them to the end as Reece Spence Rob runs deep in towards Druids, trying to catch the back of Miles Dixon. Silver Pyramids then in 4th place, Chris Gooch in 5th, with Simon Crane in 6th place, And then it is, of course, Dario Mangione in 7th place. He continues his great start in this second race. And you're probably wondering why, if you're just tuning in. Miles Dixon has 10 seconds worth of penalties to his name. Well, he got a penalty at the end of race number 1. That penalty happened in the last 5 minutes of race 1. So he gets carried over and he'll have to serve that penalty at the end of this race. So he's got it all to do tonight.
That he does, once again joining the Lexus of Dario Mangione, staring back at the ever persistent 100 Porsche of Stuart Ladd. Round Hawthorns again. You could just hear how Dario's having to feather the throttle through that fast right-hander. Again, just look at how cautious they're being, but everyone is biding their time at the moment, just trying to. They're more concentrating, I think, on keeping the car on the black stuff than trying to, do the punch and counter punch that we very much enjoyed in race 1. But Mangione at the moment just doing well. He's worked his way up through the field pretty well, but his forward progress a little bit stunted now as people are finding their rhythm, finding their own little bit of track to continue to wrestle with. We now look at Chris Gooch, who's still under pressure from Simon Crane in the Treble 2 Ferrari, on board with the Audi now at the 6th position. Comes down through Paddock Hill Bends. He's going to try and banzai that one on the inside of Druids. If it was dry, he may well have thought about it. And we've got a 5-second penalty for Chris Gooch for that avoidable contact with Ash Knight. I did rather think that was going to happen as well. So a bit of a shame for the Ferrari, but sadly that's the nature of the beast. Well, sadly for him, nature of the beast. Incident with car 48. No further action needed there. But Chris Gooch now had that 5-second penalty to carry. That would at the moment drop him behind Stu Ladd. It would cost him a few positions at the moment, but still plenty of racing to go through.
Plenty of racing to go through, and you alluded to that incident between the number 30 and the number 48. So that's David Ohak and Reece Spence-Robb. The stewards have decided no further action required. So racing incident. Simon Crane, meanwhile, onto the back of the Ferrari of Chris Gooch, who lights up the rear tyres. You can see the track deteriorating ever so slightly as the drivers try and find out where the grip is and, more importantly, where it isn't, as they head now towards the final corner, going through this long right-hander of Clark Curve, which is very perilous in the dry, let alone in these damp, changing conditions. Simon Crane will fancy his chances, try and find a way past. They're going to run side by side now, going in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Down the inside, Simon Crane will go. Is there enough grip to keep that Audi on the road? Yes, there is. And Simon Crane launching it down the inside, up into 5th place. Chris Gooch, though, meanwhile, will try and launch his move down the inside in towards the right-hander at Druids. And it's a little bit of a late move. Yeah, he's also spun as well. And a bit of an optimistic move is a very generous way of putting it, Chris.
Well, whether that was a missed breaking point or whether that was a lunge, he will know. But that has bitten him very, very hard as he got really caught up on that apex of Druids for quite a long time. Great shame, but that is the nature of the beast. As we jump to our race leader, John Seville, who's looking like he's putting a lap on. That's Suristo ahead of him. My goodness me! So several drivers really struggling. We've got Ash Knight that's in the pits now. So the Nissan has really, really struggled in these changing conditions. The rain is continuing to fall a little bit heavier. So I still think people are going to just wrestle these cars to the end on the tyres they're on, because it does take quite a while to change the tyres in these cars.
It really, really does. And we're about halfway through the race now, and it is Jonathan Seville still leading the way by just under 5 seconds in this race. As there you can see, he makes the move then on Oscar Saristo to put a lap on the Nissan driver. There's Miles Dixon in 2nd place, and Reece Spence-Robb less than 7/10 behind. That is your battle for 2nd place in this race. Down the hill they go in towards the Graham Hill Bend, and remember, Miles Dixon has 10 seconds worth of penalties that he will have to serve. Chris Gooch is into the pit lane then, so in theory he could serve his 5-second penalty right about now, but whether that's going to be a chance to go into a set of wet weather tyres, I'm not too sure. As you alluded to, Chris, it might be worth him just seeing if he can get out there. He's on the jacks, he's reversed back, so maybe they weren't quite ready, maybe he wasn't quite in position. The track, though, is greasy, so as you can see, the track is deteriorating more and more, and the rain is only getting heavier and heavier.
It is deteriorating, but no one's told John Seville that. He's just lapping as if it's an easy Sunday drive. It looks absolutely flawless for him Once again, another sterling performance. Now I've said it. Expect him off into the dust any minute now, and I'll take full responsibility for that, commentator Curse. But the 97 Aston is it just hasn't missed a beat, has he? He's done such a great job. Wow, now this is interesting. The number 17 of Noel Lamp. Bearing in mind that the Belgian was last on lap 1, now all the way up into 7th, capitalising on the misadventures of others. Yes, of course, every driver does. But he's under a lot of pressure from David Ohak. Bear in mind that David was on the podium last time out. So he's having a stunning run in the 17 Ferrari.
He is. Can he keep that car on the track? How well can he defend from David Ohak then as they make their way through Clark Curve and onto the Brabham Straight? Once again, trying to tackle Paddock Hill Bend. As you can see there, the Belgian holding on to that 7th place. David Ohak will be right behind him, and it's all going to be a test of confidence in these changing conditions. As we make our way out up towards Drew, as you can see, he's defending that inside line, is Nolan, trying to keep a hold of his position, but he lights up the rear tyres and he gets into the wall as well, takes a bit of polystyrene with him, rejoins back onto the track and loses a couple of positions. I wonder how much damage there is on that car. Again, lighting up the rear tyres. There's James Mead, who's now trying to find his way back through the field after an earlier off, going in towards, I believe it was Sterling's. We didn't actually see what happened at Sterling's, but we did see his car and his dot stranded at that point of the track. But that's the battle now for 9th place, and David Ohak moves up into 7th place. Stuart Ladd moves up into 8th.
Keeping an eye on the treble 2 as well, Chris Gooch. Bear in mind, he's been in the pits, so if he has changed tyres, it's not paying off for him, as he's currently behind, and there he is in 12th position. That is the Audi of Simon Crane ahead of him, and the Audi is only pulling away. So if he has changed tyres in the Ferrari, it clearly isn't giving him the rewards he would have hoped. But here we go again. Nolan Kemp is in 9th position. James Mead right behind that Ferrari, just wants to misbehave. Here comes the Aston. Flash of the lights. No, not anything coming off this time. Well, I mean, that is for position, James. You are not inheriting the position through blue flags or anything, so he may be just unhappy what the Ferrari's doing, but I don't think Nolan's doing anything wrong. He's probably just struggling to keep the car on the slippery black stuff, or ever more slippery black stuff as the race continues. Is James going to try and move on the inside of Druids? He does manage to slow it down, and that is 9th position for the Aston.
Yeah, the flash of the lights is a good translation is needed for that, because it can mean pretty much anything. A car's off on the infield then. I think that's the number 100. Yes, it was, of Stuart Ladd, who's found himself around. So Nolan, no sooner did he lose 9th place, but he's got it back, having overtaken Stuart Ladd, who was off the track.
Indeed, and there is the Porsche, the Martini Racing number 100, trying to recover lost ground, which is hard enough in the dry, let alone in the mixed conditions that we've got. The field relatively spread out, less than 6 minutes to go. I doubt anybody that I wouldn't be surprised if no one else pitted now, unless they're going to pit to retire, as the 4 cars that have been in the pits are in the pits, rather, have been there a while, so we're not likely to see them again, which is a great shame. But that is the nature of the beast. But still, Seville just pounding through the miles. Whoops, a little bit of a twitch there on the AstroTurf. That gets very, very slippery in these conditions, so he'll do well to avoid that. Stays close to the apex, 430s, very nicely driven. There's Dario Mangian. We saw him crossing swords with several people earlier on in the 2nd position Lexus, the lead Lexus being Silver Pyramids again. So doing well in the 77. It finds itself very much in no man's land, which, you know, for some drivers, they prefer that. They don't want the pressure around them. Other people need other cars around them to maintain their focus. Otherwise, they kind of daydream's the wrong word. But, you know, when you lose that focus at the critical moment, particularly in changing conditions like this, it can be very catastrophic. There is Silver Pyramids, as previously mentioned. Our lead Lexus there in the background. We just saw Simon Crane. So the field a little bit spread out at the moment, but still anything can happen in the remaining 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, I would keep your eye on this battle between Silver Pyramids and Simon Crane. Crane looks like he's absolutely storming the pace right now, currently 2.6 seconds back as he tries to get his way then through that left-hander of Sterling's, now on towards Clearways. We'll have to see what the gap is like as they head towards the start-finish line, but the Pole Sim Sport Audi of Simon Crane back onto the power, on towards the line we go once again. Just over 4 minutes of this race to go. It's Jonathan Seville leading the way ahead of Miles Dixon, at least out on track, and the gap has held between 4th and 5th place, 2.6 seconds. There is Jonathan Seville putting a lap then on the number 43 car of Jurica Slovinac. The Croatian now finds himself at least 1 lap down, and if these tricky conditions are more your style, well, why don't you come and have a go and see if you can be good enough for World Pro Racing. We've got weekly casual races, special events and championships on PS4 and PC. Visit us at worldproracing.com/events and find out when your next race is going to be. Stuart Ladd then 10th place. We just saw a quick glimpse. Meanwhile, we're cut to David Ohack, who fancies his chances trying to get back past James Mead. James Mead now up into 7th place, and considering he had that moment at Stirling's, it's not letting him get him down. He's now back up into 7th place. And how far away is Manjin? He's a bit away up the road. In fact, he's just now going on towards Pilgrim's Drop, so it's quite a way to try and make up that ground. It's 8 seconds is the gap so far, but I don't think David Ohack is done with his battle for 7th at the moment.
I would imagine you are right there, as Ohack then continues to apply the pressure, coming down through Pilgrim's Drop into Hawthorns once again. Because they're trying to think about the lines they're taking. They know where there was grip last time around, but in these conditions, there's no guarantee that the grip's still there. And just as I say that, David Ohack just makes that tiny hesitation coming into Sheen and nearly wanders off the road, but does manage to keep it on the blast. That's lost him a little bit of time. That is Nolan Lamb right behind him in 9th position. As we jump to Simon Crane, who's doing his best to close down that 2-second gap between himself and Silver Pyramid. He's got just over 2 minutes to do it. It's a bit of an ask as possible, but he may well have to settle for the position he's in.
Well, in these changing conditions, I wouldn't rule anything out. There's a couple of drivers who obviously would have set their car up in one way. Would they be getting to grips with these greasy service that this track offers now? And as you were saying at the last overtaking opportunity, the last car we saw, it's not really about finding out where the grip is. It's more finding out where the grip isn't, where you're going to put the car, and the car is just going to aquaplane off the circuit, or at least there's just going to be no grip wherever you put it. Simon Crane, meanwhile, is trying to close in, as you say, on Silver Pyramid. 2.1 seconds is the gap at the last timing line. We should have one coming up very shortly to see where it will re-emerge then, but take nothing away from Jonathan Seville, who is once again putting on a great show as he now makes his way through Paddock Hill Bend. I think we're just going to have one more lap after this one. It's going to be very tight though, and if Jonathan Seville really wanted to, he could back out on the Brabham Straight and just take the checkered flag if he really wanted to, but I'm pretty sure he's in the zone right now. I don't think he's going to do that.
Oh, just a twitch again as he touches that AstroTurf on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, exactly as he did before when we were watching him. Now just tiptoeing his way through Surtees, and again he's just flirting with the rumble strip. I think grip is just getting less and less and less, but he's not pushing. He knows he doesn't have to do anything silly, especially with the 10-second penalty on Miles Dixon, who's 7.5 seconds behind him at the last timing line anyway. So there's nothing that Seville needs to worry about other than himself. He's the only one that can really dethrone him from that top spot. Still extends that gap up front. He may well just choose to back off. We'll see. Well, we'll see. I mean, he could. He's got time to do it, but like you say, he's just doing his own thing, really, up front.
Absolutely, as he makes his way through the final quarter at Clark Curve and back onto the power then towards the start-finish line at the Brabham Straight. Something tells me he might not back out. No, he won't. We're going to go for one more lap then, and that's a blessing in disguise then for Rhys Spence-Robb, because he wants that position, second place, out on track. If he stays behind Miles Dixon now, he will inherit that position anyway. But as a driver, you really want to earn that one. You really want to finish ahead of the driver ahead, out on track. He's got one more lap to do it as they make their way in towards Druids. Then Miles Dixon holding on to that position. Of course, he had that penalty awarded to him in the last race, but has to serve it in this one as they now file their way in towards Graham Hill Bend, on towards the Cooper Straight. And then they've got Surtees coming up here. Miles Dixon about holding on for this one. I think he's going to hold on to third place no matter what happens, so long as he keeps that on the track, so long as he keeps that facing the right way, he will finish in third place. It's all about how far behind Silver Pyramids is, and we'll find out when he reaches the next timing line. 14.6 behind Reece Spence Rob. So yeah, Miles Dixon here, as long as he doesn't make a mistake, he should be able to hold on to third place. We've got Jonathan Seville then looking to make it 2 out of 2 here at Brands Hatch as he makes his way towards Stirlings for the final time in race number 2. On towards Clearways we will go, and Clark Curve will soon follow. Then Jonathan Seville in the Pole Sim Sport Aston Martin, the number 97, comes round the final corner to make it 2 from 2 here for himself at Brands Hatch, and takes the checkered flag for another race win. Another commanding performance in these tricky conditions. Miles Dixon will come across the line in second place out on track, and Reece Spence Rob will follow him through. He'll inherit second place from Miles Dixon, who will finish in third place, so long as Silver Pyramid hasn't found a lightning bit of pace out on track. He'll come across the line to finish in fourth place, and despite Simon Crane's best efforts, he will come across the line and finish behind Silver Pyramids, the Estonian, for fifth place. There's Dario Mangione in sixth place, and it's been a good race for the second Lexus man in the MAD racing car. The number 77 will claim sixth place in this race. It's been a good drive, solid drive, considering where he started in the lower half of the field. James Mead should recover to seventh place. David Ohak in eighth place, and the number 17 car of Nola Lamp will finish in ninth place, and Stuart Ladd will finish as the last car on the lead lap in 10th place. Well, the rain came and it might have put a dampen on some parties, but definitely not the man who won this race, Jonathan Seville. Nothing could dampen his spirits in that race, at least.
Not at all. Another flawless performance from him. Again, did he realise there was rain? Did anyone tell him? He just didn't seem to faze him at all. We'll see if he can make it 3 from 3, but I mean, what a difference it's going to make to his championship position. But even still, Reece Spence Rob is still right up there. There's still 2 podiums for him, so he's going to maintain a strong championship position. His main challenge in the vein of Jans Niklas Erbrich, not here tonight anyway, so that's going to help Spence Rob's championship contention, of course. But wow, if this is anything to go by, the rest of the season should be fantastic to watch.
Race 3 is going to be coming up. The rain is going to get heavier. When we come back, we'll find out how wet that track is going to be for the drivers in race number 3. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to what has so far been the Jonathan Seville show here at World Pro Racing, here for Mega Sprint Tuesdays. If you're just joining us back here for race number 3, it's our final race of the evening. 20 minutes to go, and the question on everyone's mind is, can Jonathan Seville make it the hat-trick of victories here tonight and score the maximum 90 points for his championship tally, which of course goes for the entire season? And if you fancy more racing here on World Pro Racing, we've got the Alpine GT4 Championship tomorrow night at 7:30 UTC +1. And if you fancy even more racing after that, we've got the HyperX Open Series this coming Friday. So if that sounds like your kind of show, that sounds like your kind of racing, make sure you do everything you can to come back to World Pro Racing. If you're watching on ESTV, Motorsport TV, TVM Sport, put a little reminder in your diary. And if you're watching on Facebook, on Twitch and on YouTube, make sure you follow and subscribe, do all that lovely stuff to make sure you don't miss another race. Chris, we've got one more race to go, and the question is, can anybody stop Jonathan Seville?
At the moment, it's looking like only Jonathan Seville can stop Jonathan Seville, but he's been absolutely flawless all night, so that's not looking likely. We know how quick, Reece Spence Rob is, so I mean, you would think he's the likely candidate, but yet again, as we know, he's starting from third. He's got, he's surrounded by Bentleys. They seem to be, the Bentley boys, to resurrect an old racing phrase, are really scrapping it out pretty well amongst themselves. But now the rain is very much settled in. That's probably going to be the biggest thing. If anything is going to unearth that Aston, it could well be the conditions.
It could well be the conditions, as it's kept raining and it's only going to get heavier during this race. Wet tyres will surely be on for the entire field this time around as they make their way through Clark Curve and on towards the Brabham Straight. Once again, Jonathan Seville on your left, David O'Hack, which is now on your left, and now Jonathan Seville goes to your right. That's the front two though, and twice so far tonight, Jonathan Seville has got a great start down towards Paddock Hill Bend. David O'Hack twice has had to try and move round the outside and hasn't made it stick yet. Third time's a charm, they say. Green flag goes. We are racing and heading now down towards Paddock Hill Bend. David O'Hack will once again have to go the long way round it towards Paddock Hill Bend and back onto the power. He will go as Miles Dixon tries to get back onto the power. Now moving into third place, I believe that is, as he moves ahead, yes, of Reece Spence Rob. Saristo fancies his chances in the Nissan, so too the Silver Pyramids. Down the inside, he will try and go in towards Graham Hill Bend. Has to back out of that one, but that was Saristo catching the grass and going straight on then as the Finnish driver goes onto the grass. There's absolutely zero grip out there and he aquaplanes pretty much off the circuit there as soon as he touched that little bit of grass. Jack Taylor then in the Slipstream Porsche trying to find and negotiate his way through. Tiptoeing would be a more accurate word, as there is David O'Hack who takes the lead away from Jonathan Seville. So the DJ Racing Bentley of David O'Hack leads the way from Jonathan Seville in second place. Miles Dixon in third. There you can see that's Reece Spence Rob who's managed to hold on to fourth place. Ash Knight moves up into fifth, but we've got a car off in the background. I think that's Chris Gooch then in the Ferrari. The Treble 2 rejoins onto the circuit, and Jurika Slovinac will be very benefited from that as he moves into 11th place. But there is your race leader, David O'Hack, as we approach the end of the very first lap of race 3.
Someone has finally managed to dethrone the mighty Seville as we see Reece Spence Rob side by side with the number 9 Porsche. That's Ash Knight trying to make the championship leader's day even worse by demoting him into fifth. He just can't quite do it. The Bentley just fending off the Porsche at the moment. Flash of the lights from Ash Knight. Not too happy about something. James Mead up into 6th position, but fending off the advances of Dario Manchin as they come up the hill towards Druids. Once again, the Lexus on the inside line, the number 77 looking to reclaim that 6th position, which he manages to do. And Simon Crane trying to find some traction from somewhere. You saw the car just dancing around and now cuts back underneath the Aston. Can he get the traction when he needs it? It does look like he's going to, and that's how the lead changed for David O'Hack, putting off a similar move on Seville a couple of laps ago, and he's last lap, and has managed to do it this time around, making the Aston fall another position. There's Nolan Lamp as well, fending off Saristo. We saw the Nissan do some lawn mowing earlier on, and he's trying to recover lost ground. But there is David O'Hack trying to defend that position. Of course, in the wet conditions, having to defend from the very, very quick Seville is made that much more difficult. We have lost one already. Sadly, we lost Silver Pyramids from the race. He was stationary. Oh no, there's another spinner that's ready, that's Gotham ready, that's had trouble. He's stationary in between Westfield Bend and Sheen as the Nissan. That was a nice move by Saristo on the inside line. There's James Mead. He's fallen to 11th, so there's drama absolutely everywhere.
There he is as he's falling down the order, but he's going side by side with Jake Taylor, and he's got the nose ahead going in towards Paddock Hill Bend, then trying to slow the car down the latest he possibly can in these changing conditions, and keeps a hold now of what is now 9th place Jake Taylor. Won't take that line down. He thought about a move up the inside, but the door was always closing there, and there is Jurica Slovinac, the Croatian, trying to find his way through the field, trying to pick up the pieces of the two battling up ahead. James Mead grabs the racing line going in towards Graham Hill Bend, and there is Slovinac then getting the much better exit out of Graham Hill Bend onto the Cooper Straight. He's got the inside line going in towards Surtees, and Slovinac then moves into the top 10. Can he get that power down? Well, Jake Taylor's still there, and Jake Taylor had a little bit of a cutback, and look at this, he's got the better run going in towards Pilgrim's Drop. They're going to run side by side going in towards Hawthorne Bend. Jack Taylor is not going to let this one go, trying to hang it round the outside going in towards Hawthorne Bend, and now onto the Derek Minter Straight. He moves back up into 10th place. Bravery there from Jack Taylor, moving into the top 10 again.
What a move! Now that was trusting on the outside of a wet Hawthorns. That's a very brave move, and he pulled it off brilliantly well. As we jump to Simon Crane, the sole Audi in the race, trying to fend off Ash Knight in the number 9 Porsche. So we saw Ash having trouble earlier on. And now Simon Crane doing what he can to hang on to that 6th position. Right ahead of him, Dario Mangian in the 77 Lexus, trying to get away from his pursuers. But up front, David Hoak still has all the company in the world from John Seville. Behind them, Miles Dixon and Spence Robb he's 2.5 seconds back from this pack. Very surprising. So he's either not got the setup for the wet weather or just not a fan of the slippery conditions, but this race not going the championship leader's way.
Not at the moment. Meanwhile, then Simon Crane having a nice ding-dong battle here with Ash Knight, as Knight now gets up to the inside in towards Surtees and moves ahead of the Pole Sim Sport car. But Ash Knight not getting the greatest exit, and he loses the back end and collects Simon Crane with him as well. I think actually Crane managed to get away with that one. Ash Knight certainly did not.
No, I don't think he did. The number 90, the Saristo, they got caught up in that one. He's now fallen to the tail end of the field. So I saw someone was stationary there on the map. Yeah, Ash Knight is lost a considerable amount of time as a result, but the field's still fairly condensed. So if he can get back into his rhythm, as long as he's not lost too much car or confidence, he should be able to get back into his pace. But David Hoak, he can do nothing to shake off that ever persistent Aston. That's the view from the race leading number 13 to that very distinctly liveried number 97 as they come through Paddock Hill Bend once again. Now, what can he do? He's been chasing that car all race long, but from a considerable distance. Oh, now can Seville get the traction? He's not quite. He needed to be alongside much earlier than that. Simon Crane brings his Audi into the pits. We've lost a few from this race. Oh, now I wondered whether Seville was going to try and redo the move that David Hoak did on him at the beginning part of the race, in between Graham Hill Bend and Surtees, but couldn't quite do it. Trying to pull side by side again, and no, just cannot get the traction when he needs it. The conditions just acting against the Aston.
At the moment, yes, but you can see Jonathan Seville is really up for this one. David Hoak is doing his best to place that Bentley exactly where he needs to. There's Miles Dixon watching on then, probably with popcorn in one hand and steering wheel in the other, enjoying this one and just seeing what happens between these two. Spence Robb is dropping to 4th place. He's nearly 3 seconds back off of Miles Dixon alone, so struggling in these conditions perhaps in this getting towards the halfway stage. Miles Dixon watching on as Jonathan Seville into the toe of David Hoak once again as they head their way through in towards Clark Curve. It's Hoak, it's Seville, it's Dixon for your top 3 so far. There is Ash Knight, who has got back up to speed. He currently is in 13th place in the Slipstream Racing number 9 Porsche, and well, if he gets the line, it will be points, it will be valuable points scored. And look at that, Seville then running sideways going through Paddock Hill Bend. Not a conventional line through there, but boy did that look good.
Didn't it just? GT3 cars are not really made for sliding, but That's once again, John Seville didn't get that memo as he's trying what he can to get past the Bentley. And you can't say that David Ohak has not got the pace. I mean, he's a regular around these parts, and he's pretty much very, very rapid in anything you sit him in. But Seville is now he's made that tiny mistake on Surtees. He's now been thrown into the clutches of Miles Dixon. So now the 97 is having to defend. We've seen him run off into the distance twice already tonight. Now he's having to deal with the Bentley behind him.
Now, these two, Jonathan Seville and Miles Dixon, are part of the same team, but this is a drivers-only championship, so that means absolutely nothing here. These two are out for themselves, and they'll be looking to try and take the personal glory when they can, as they now make their way in towards Stirlings and back now onto the power through Clearways and towards Clark Curve once again. But David Ohak is just about doing enough as we approach quickly the halfway stage of this race, as the Bentley leads the Aston Martin and the other Bentley of Seville and Dixon. There is Chris Gooch, who had a moment early on in this race. 11th place so far. He's under pressure from the Seoul Nissan of Saristo then, as we head our way in towards Stirlings, back onto the power as we get our way through Clearways. And Saristo wanting to get that move past, but there's just not quite the gap he needs so far.
Oh, the number 9 is going to be very popular in a minute as the top 3 are just separated. Less than a second separates the top 3. And that's Ohak. He's gone too deep into Greymill Bend. Surely it's an opportunity now for the Aston to pull alongside. Can he redo what David Ohak did on him? No, David Ohak is not having any of that. Great traction as they come through Surtees, but that traction's just failed him at the worst possible time. But Ohak is still alongside. John Seville cannot get alongside enough through Seoul. Simon said, no, the Aston's gone. No, the Aston's gone off the road. Can't see it from that camera angle. Tiny contact between the two. I mean, it's very, very dangerous to go side by side through Hawthorns at the best of times. But sadly, the race-winning Aston now down into 4th position, assuming he's gotten back going again. Oh, that's a great shame. That was shaping up to be a monstrous battle. Now the representation of Pulse is being represented by Miles Dixon.
It is indeed, as he now tries to latch onto the back of David Ohak. The two Bentleys are going to be battling away, and Rhys Spence-Robb has now got ahead of Jonathan Seville after that off-track excursion from Seville. He now gets back onto the power, and knowing Jonathan Seville, well, he's got less than 10 minutes to go, but showing the pace he has today, he should have no problem at least catching Rhys Spence-Robb. Passing him, though, well, he hasn't had to do much passing today.
He's clearly got the pace to run off into the distance, so the yellow, pink and black car, the air is going to be very blue as he sees red in that Aston. He's going to wants to try to upset the Bentley 1, 2, 3 at the moment as we look at David Ohak fending off the advances of Miles Dixon. DJ Racing versus Pulse for the top 2. That's of course allowed Rhys Spence-Robb to close in a little bit. There is the bright green Bentley at the top of the shot. I think that was a back marker you saw directly behind him. Yes, that's the Lamborghini directly behind him. Let's look at this again. So this is on the way to Hawthorns, going through Pilgrim's Drop now. The Aston is very much committed to that move. He can't go backwards because the Bentley's right behind him. And there it is. It's almost, I think the Aston actually turns in on the Bentley, in fairness. It turns in a little bit too much to a literal gap that wasn't there.
Yeah, tough place then. Oh, but there you can see Dixon getting onto the grass, then going on the exit of Sheens there, and the stewards there clearly feeling the same. The number 97 and the number 94, which is Dixon and Seville, no further action between the two of them. So they'll carry on their merry way then. Nothing doing to those two. James Mead, meanwhile, in the JBR Aston Martin, the 505, currently in 11th place as he looks to try and chase down Ladd ahead of him. Jack Taylor, though, who hasn't had the best of days, could make everything up here because he's in 9th place right now. He's got Gooch right behind. He's got Taylor right up ahead. Sorry, that is Taylor we're watching. He's got the Ferrari then of Nolan right ahead. This has not been a great day for Jack Taylor, but he gets the power down. Look at that exit he had coming out of Clark Curve. Gets the position now, moves now up into 8th place. Gooch wants to take advantage as well, going down the inside at Paddock Hill Bend. He'll have the racing line going through there, but the two Ferraris go side by side, leave each other the room on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. Now up into Druids we go, And Nolan there on the outside. In theory, he should be able to get the traction down and the power down quicker. But there you can see Gooch then still on the outside, going in towards Graham Hill. Ben then still leaving each other the room. But Gooch eventually gets that move done and moves into 9th place.
Well driven from both the Ferraris there. Again, I was expecting that to maybe I should be a little optimistic towards our drivers, because every time I've seen them side by side through several corners, I've expected the worst, and they've given us the best so far. A few incidents aside, of course, but for most of the time, the side-by-sides have been brilliantly done. As we switch back to our battle for the lead, Miles Dixon really piling the pressure on. David O'Hack has so far just soaked it all up, and they're beginning to rebuild that gap back to Reece Spence Rob as again he cut underneath, not quite. Miles Dixon trying his best to cut underneath David O'Hack coming into Paddock Hill Bend. He's too close to get any kind of slipstream, so he's just trying to use momentum, but of course they're both Bentleys, so they're hitting the corners at broadly the same speed. So we jump back to Jack Taylor now in 8th position, ahead of Gooch and ahead of Lamp, trying to keep the two Ferraris behind. David O'Hack still soaking up all the pressure. Number 13 is not proving unlucky for him.
Not at the moment, as he now exits out of Surtees and now going on towards Pilgrim's Drop. Then no way through so far for Miles Dixon, but we know Miles Dixon here. He does love to put a front splitter up the inside, going in towards Paddock Hill Bend and in towards Druids as well. So that's a tactic he's using there, and more not so to try and just pry the door open, but more to put the other driver off his own line to try and force him into that mistake. As we ride on board then in towards Sheens and then towards Sterling's, that left-hander going through here, then down through the pit gears, then down to second, back onto the power, and you can see the car always squirming. You're having to control the car through these mid-speed corners in towards Clark Curve, then bumpy on the entry as well, can easily unsettle the car if you've not got the suspension set up the right way, and onto the Brabham Straight, where once again David O'Hack is just about doing enough with just over 5 minutes to go to keep a hold of this lead. Reece Spence Rob and Jonathan Seville battle away for 3rd place. So Seville has done what we all thought he was going to do. He's caught up to Reece Spence Rob. Now he needs to try and find a way past.
Very much roles reversed from earlier in the evening, where Spence Rob was behind Seville, but Seville has just danced off into the distance in the drier conditions. Can he do anything against the Bentley ahead of him? He's clearly got the pace. He's been able to close that gap down every single time, but just hasn't quite had that opportunity to get the additional pace he needs to get past someone. So, we're going to have to see if he's able to overcome that in the remaining 5 minutes. Just a quarter of the race to go. So we look at Jurgen Slavenec in 6th position at the moment. A good, solid position there for the 43 Porsche, fending off Saristo, who's seemingly now taming that Nissan. Earlier trouble seems to have been undone now for Oscar, as he's trying to make his way through the field. That car ahead of them is not for position, I don't believe.
It's the number 24 there, so that's of Silver Period. So you're absolutely right, Chris. That's not for position. That's the Lexus there running around. But Slavenec then won't be thinking about that too much. He'll be thinking about Oscar Saristo right behind. Oscar Saristo and his favoured Nissan just turning up the wick, turning up the heat, as he lights up the rear tyres, coming out of Westfield Bend in towards Sheens we will go, and then on towards the right-hander here of Sterling's, and fair play to Silver Pimets, gets right out of the way of this battle for 6th place. Back onto the power, Saristo will go, and it's a relatively short run in the grand scheme of things towards Clark Curve. You've got to size yourself up here, get the better run out of Clark's Curve here as we make our way on towards the Brabham Straight. Does the Finnish driver see a way past? Does he see a gap opening up? He'll go to the outside line, going in towards Paddock Hill Bend. You're dangerous here. You are left vulnerable here. The back end swaps on him. He hits the gravel there, and all that momentum is lost. Saved by the gravel at least for going round, but he will be absolutely kicking himself there. Just took too much speed in and understeered his way onto the gravel there.
Oh, the Aston getting a bit lively there for John Seville, heading down through Hawthorns. He just touched the grass, didn't have the same fate that others have who flirted with that grassy outcrop there on the outside line. So O'Hack and Dixon still holding on to 1st and 2nd. The battle for 3rd continues between Reece Spence, Rob and John Seville. We lose another from the race, unfortunately. That was Jack Taylor, I believe, has parked. Oh, no, big one. Jack Taylor's in 8th. But so we're down to 13 runners now. And, a bit of a war of attrition going on, but with only a couple of minutes remaining, those that are in the rhythm should make it towards the end. It looks like Rhys Spence Robb now beginning to get a bit of rhythm going. He's some 3 seconds behind the lead too. Will we see a last-minute charge from Miles Dixon?
We will see, because we've got about 120 seconds to go before we see the checkered flag, as you can see the battle for third place. The team Boatley Bentley of Rhys Spence Robb came into this as the championship leader, will probably walk away from this as the championship leader, but David Ohak, one of his close rivals, will have scythed that gap down. There he is, leading this race at the moment as we make our way through Surtees, with Miles Dixon right behind him as we make our way towards Pilgrim's Drop. Then the two Bentleys are going to battle away for this one, with Jonathan Seville down in fourth place after contact between himself and David Ohak going in through Hawthorne Bend. The stewards found that was no further action required between the two, and we have gone on racing since. David Ohak, though, has had his mirrors filled with that Miles Dixon car for quite some time now, and he's been able to withstand the pressure with just over 1 minute to go as the cars now make their way in towards Stirling's and then on towards that short run through Clearways. We see David Ohak, he knows how to place the car, he knows how to defend. We now ride on board of the rear wing of Rhys Spence Robb as he looks back at Jonathan Seville, the battle for third place, as they make their way now in towards Clark Curve. You can see two slightly different lines being taken there. You saw Seville take a much tighter line, grab the apex of the corner. There is Slovenach and Saristo battling away side by side through Dingledale, then in towards Sheeds. Not normally you see two cars run side by side there, so fair play to the both of them as Saristo gets the move done then for sixth place. Meanwhile, we're on to the final lap of this race then. David Ohak leads from Miles Dixon as they head the way through Graham Hill Bend, on now towards the Cooper Straight and towards Surtees. Time is running out for Miles Dixon. We've normally seen him put a splitter up the inside. He hasn't felt close enough to do that just yet, but maybe it's all on this lap. It's all or nothing for Miles Dixon as they make their way now on towards Pilgrim's Drop and then towards Hawthorne Bend for the final time tonight. Not really an overtaking opportunity going through here, especially if you're that far back for Miles Dixon. David Ohak will be focusing on his line now as we head onto the Derek Minter Straight in towards Westfield Bend and Dingledale for this final time before you get towards Sheens then. But look how close Dixon is to the back of David Ohak as we make our way through Sheens. Oh, he runs a little bit onto the grass here. This could be Dixon's chance to go round the outside, swoops round the outside at Stirling's and takes the position away. David Ohak will be absolutely kicking himself. The one time he couldn't make a mistake, and he did. Miles Dixon goes through, takes away the position, and will take this race win ahead of David Ohak. Miles Dixon wins the third race at Brands Hatch for Pole Sim Sport. David Ohak in second place, and Rhys Spence Robb rounds off our podium for the third and final race. Jonathan Seville recovers to fourth place. It was a good drive from him in the end, just couldn't quite find that way past Spence Robb. And Mansion there, fifth place for him, best finish of today for him. He kept on rising through the ranks as he went through. Saristo will grab sixth place ahead of Jurika Slovenach, and before we briefly saw that battle for sixth place, they were going side by side through Dingledale. You hardly ever see cars go side by side through there. Fantastic respect between the two of them. They finished sixth and seventh respectively. Chris Gooch then in the Valkyrie Racing number 222 Ferrari will come across the line in eighth place then as he finds his way towards the line. It's been a tough race for him. He was off at the early stages of this race. Nolan Lamp then in the number 17 Ferrari comes across the line in ninth, and James Mead finishes as the last car on the lead lap. But Miles Dixon takes away a race victory that David Ohak, it's fair to say, threw away.
It was just that one moment we said right at the beginning of the race, or right at the beginning of the evening, that this is going to be down to pressure management. He soaks up all the pressure from both Pulse drivers, and just that one mistake at that one crucial moment where he had no time to recover, and that's all it took.
Yeah, overran Sheens and onto the ground. I've made the same mistake, but it's just one too many times trying to make sure you stay ahead of the car behind him. I mean, he had done that for 12, 13 laps pretty successfully beforehand, but sometimes the track will change. It's not the same as last time. He will be, one thing's for sure, will be absolutely kicking himself, because that's a race win he sorely deserved there.
He did. He did absolutely everything right. He managed to dethrone the mighty Seville at the beginning of the race with a wonderful move into Graham Hill Bend that he then completed in 30s and held the lead for so long. Like I was under so much pressure from several different people. No, it wasn't just Dixon. He was from Seville for a long time. And then it was both the Pulse guys that were piling the pressure on. Just, you got to feel sorry for him. But he was still coming home in second. It's a great result. But, what could have been for David O'Hack.
That'll feel like a win that's been taken away, but it's through an own error, and that one is the one that hurts the most for sure for David O'Hack. But take nothing away from the drive that Miles Dixon put on. He put the driver under pressure ahead. We said that's one of the things you had to do, and in the end, he got his reward. He got the race 3 victory.
Certainly did. Jonathan Seville couldn't quite pull off the hat trick, although he was still finishing in 4th. So a very big haul of points for him, but. Yeah, it's so close for so many people. But that was a wonderful part of all 3 races as well. That with the exception of John Seville running off into the sunset in races 1 and 2, there were so many fights that could have gone in so many different ways. That nothing was really decided until that checkered flag fell, including the victory for race 3.
And the number 77, just want to touch on quickly on Dario Mangione. Well, the results he had kept getting better and better with each race that passed. I reckon he's ready for race number 4, if we had one, of course. He would have been right up there. Yeah,
completely. It's great to see that kind of progress as well. Now, yes, the weather conditions may well have had something to play in that. The weather, wet weather always mixes things up a little bit. And of course, it's Great Britain. Of course, there's going to be rain involved. As a Brit, I will say that with some authority. But it's up to you as a driver to master those conditions. And they're familiar with their cars. They know how to set them up just the way they like them and to their tailoring. So he's just done a great job to get better with each successive round.
Absolutely, and if you fancy more racing on the cards here at World Pro Racing, then I've got good news. We're back live tomorrow for the Alpine GT4 Championship, where I believe you'll be able to join alongside the lovely Mr. Chris Buxton, alongside Alex Goldschmidt, to cover the next round there, round number 4. And then on Friday we have the HyperX Open Series, race number 3, where we'll be taking you to the Nürburgring. And if Team Endurance is the way you want to go instead, well, I've got good news. Tuesday, the Duo Series comes back for the Nürburgring, a 3-hour race, a mandatory driver change around halfway through the race. Make sure you get as equal stint as possible with your teammate. And of course, the AMD GT4 Championship returns for round 3 on Thursday the 10th of June. So make sure you write them down in your diaries. You don't want to miss any of those races here on World Pro Racing. Hopefully we'll get a confirmation of who the top 3 were, maybe get a chance to interview a couple of them. But I have to say, Chris, there's been some good racing, especially between the podium places. Couple of incidents here and there, but for our race stewards in Adrian Figallo and George Muscat, not a lot of huge decisions they had to make there.
Yeah, completely. You and I as commentators have seen where the stewards are having to unpick huge, great incidents and multiple car pileups and penalties on top of penalties, but there's been none of that. The racing has been really, really clean. And as you were touching on earlier, Kieran, for those of you that are wanting to get involved, head over to World Pro Racing. Find us on social media. Find us on the website. It is available to all for various different skill levels as well. Don't feel that you have to be the greatest of the great. Everyone has to start somewhere, and you may have lunatics like us shouting about your on-track antics.
And who wouldn't want that? Who really wouldn't pass up that opportunity for sure? We're great races at Brands Hatch for sure. That rain in the second race then really changed things, because it was a decision for the drivers to make whether they start on the wet weather tyres and hope that the rain gets heavier, or maybe start on the dry tyres and hope that the rain doesn't get too heavy.
Yeah, completely. And I get the feeling that most people opted for the dry tyres. We'll speak to our top 3 when we have the opportunity to do so. But I got the feeling that generally the tyre choice was the same across everybody. Most people opting to kind of wrestle the dries rather than switch to the wets. But again, that's what the wet weather generates. It gives those opportunities to try something different. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, it was wonderful to see, like I say, just great performances from our entire field.
Really, really was. And we had some moves. We had some great moves. I mean, the one right at the very end between Sari Stowe, who managed to run side by side through Dingle Dell. It's not every day you get to say something like that, Chris.
No, we saw some drivers sideways as well. Some people were putting left-hand turn into right-hand bends to keep their cars under control. Again, just was a great pleasure to commentate on. We hope you guys watching along enjoyed it as much as we did.
Absolutely, and hopefully we get to see you back here very, very soon. We've got one of our top 3 drivers in, and that's going to be Miles Dixon, who finished today 3rd in the point scoring positions. Miles, can you hear us? Hopefully we can get a word with him. We'll try one more time. Miles, can you hear us?
Hello, yeah.
Hello, yes, Miles, we can hear you. So, 3rd place overall in those point scoring stats. I mean, what has started off as a dry day got a little bit bleaker and bleaker, but I suppose not for you. At the end, you got a race victory. How would you sum up today?
A bit difficult, to be honest. So, yeah, but it was a good day, to be fair. So, yeah.
And you had that incident in race 1, and the stewards awarded you that 10-second time penalty for race number 2. Now, how much of a cloud is that over you going into race 2, knowing that you've already got a penalty to serve even before the race has started?
It didn't really bother me, to be fair. Just told myself to keep out of trouble in the second race and keep my head down.
Keep your head down. Yeah, keep your head down. You did, because when it came to race number 3, we saw yourself and one David Ohak battling for the lead of the race before David Ohak made that mistake on the final lap. We saw a couple of maybe sneaky moves trying to go up the inside. What's the tactic there? Is that just to get a front splitter onside, maybe put off the other driver?
Yeah, it was just to get him a bit nervous to make a mistake. But at the start, I was telling Jonathan to speed up. Well, not speed up, but to try and attack him. So I gave him a bump draft as well, but that didn't work. And so, yeah, on the last lap, I told myself try and get as close as possible to him to force him into an error.
And that certainly seemed to work, because it got you the race victory. Well, congratulations on your race victory. You finished 3rd overall in the point standings for tonight's racing action. Miles, the floor is yours for any shout-outs, any sponsors you'd like to thank.
Just RC Racing Europe, SimTech Racing, Positive Perception, and there's a couple more, but JW Design, and that's it at the moment.
So many shout-outs there, Miles. You can't remember where they all come in, which order. But Miles, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully we see more of you here at World Pro Racing, and congratulations on your 3rd place in the point standings for Brands Hatch.
Thank you. Cheers.
And I believe, Chris, you're with Reece Spence Rob, the 2nd place driver in the standings.
Indeed. Reece, are you with us?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Oh my goodness me, did you give us a lot to shout about. So coming into this round, you obviously have the championship lead. Was that a factor in how you were attacking this race? Were you thinking, I need to really push, or were you thinking, the people immediately around me aren't my championship rivals? Was that anything to do with your tactics, or was it just a case of right foot to the floor?
Going into this one, it was, as you said, pretty much right foot to the floor. We knew that obviously any passing here was going to be a nightmare, which it was tonight. But obviously passing here is really, really difficult. So you've just got to try and get the pole and run away with the win, a bit like I did in the last round in Hungaroring. That was just the plan there, and that was the plan here. Unfortunately, I messed up my quali run, and yeah, it was unfortunately that just sort of put us back in P3, P4, and yeah, just trying to make up places from there, really.
Particularly in that last race, you were under so much pressure from John Seville. Was there any thought of, he's got a bit of pace over me, I'll let him go, or is it just a case of, no, thou shalt not pass?
Definitely thou shalt not pass. The last race was a bit of a nightmare for us. I gambled on the dry tyres, just hoping the track would stay greasy. It wasn't too bad in the end of the first race, and it looked like it hadn't progressed. Track progression hadn't actually progressed that much, so I took the gamble and stayed on the dries, and it was just a case of they were deep sea blue throughout the entire race, completely cold. I couldn't get any pressure, any temperature in them, so it was just a case of trying to hang on and see where I could finish. But P3 was a good result from that one, at least. I'm quite happy that I managed to hold off the Aston there. That was good for me.
Excellent stuff on questionable tyres. I'd say that's pretty damn impressive. Any shout outs from you, good sir?
Just to the guys at Team Odyssey. Every single week, we've got a couple of big events coming up soon. So, yeah, just a shout out to them. We all work so hard on week in, week out, trying to get these cars to these races and trying to get us all signed up. So, yeah, big shout out to them as well.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much. Well done on a wonderful night's racing, and best of luck for the remainder of the season. Thank you very much, Reese, Spence, Rob.
No problem. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
And I believe you have our points victor, Mr. McGinley.
I do indeed, with 2 race wins today. It's Jonathan Seville. Jonathan, can you hear us?
Yes, can.
That's always a good sign when the drivers can hear you. Jonathan, 2 out of 3 wins today and just missed out on the podium in the last race. I think it's fair to say it's been a successful day for you. How would you sum up today?
Yeah, 2 wins. Got to be happy with that. Pretty happy with my Macaulay lap as well. That was pretty good. And yeah, race 1 and 2 were pretty straightforward for me. Race 3, yeah, a bit more action for me. Didn't quite get the tyres right. They were overheating from the get-go because I was unsure about what to do with them, being the track being damp. Yeah, so yeah, 2 out of 3 wins, not bad.
Yeah, and talk us through the moment going through the just after Pilgrim's Bend. What's going through your mind there when that slight bit of contact's made?
Well,
uncensored
yeah,
is not an option here.
Yeah, it's not what you want, is it really? Tried to give the space, so obviously I don't think the driver meant to do that. Yeah, but it's a bit disappointing, and at least just kept out of the wall and was able to keep in the race and keep 4th and get into 4th place. So yeah, disappointing to not get 3 out of 3, but yeah, wasn't the end of the world.
Not the end of the world, and you managed to catch back up to the back of Reece, Spence, Rob, and you couldn't quite find the way through. I mean, is that the nature of Brands Hatch? Could you just not find the way through you needed?
Yeah, it's very difficult to overtake here. Yeah, I was right on the back of him for a lot of time, and I was hoping really for a mistake out of him, because that's probably one of your only ways past here. Yeah, there's not many places that you can overtake, but he didn't make the mistake, so yeah, deserved P3 for him.
Well, Jonathan, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Your highest point scorer of today, and 2 races with a win to boot as well. The floor is yours for any shout-outs, any sponsors you'd like to thank.
Shout out to RC Racing Europe, Simtech Racing, Positive Perception, and FF Sim Racing Wheels. Yeah.
Well, perfect. Short and sweet. That's one way to do it, Jonathan. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully we see more of you here at World Pro Racing, and congratulations on your massive points haul today.
Thank you.
So that concludes our driver interviews, and we now wind down from what has been exciting racing. Rain at Brands Hatch, rain in Great Britain. Really, who could have predicted that, Chris, hey?
Who'd have thought? But what a way did it spice up the racing. Not that it was dull to begin with, in fairness. Once again, well done to all of our drivers, putting on a great show. And thank you very much to those in the background, making the stream, making the show as good as it is. We literally couldn't do it without them.
We really, really couldn't, and hopefully you'll be joining us on World Pro Racing on a stream very, very soon. Don't forget as well, the Alpine GT4 Championship is tomorrow, where you can join the lovely Chris Buxton for another round in the Alpines. Hopefully we will see you there. We want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, AMD, HyperX, GT Omega Racing, Thrustmaster, Gaming Malta, and visitmalta.com. And if you've been watching us on ESTV, Motorsport TV, TVM Sport, we've been great to have you along. Hope you've enjoyed the show. If you've been watching us on Facebook, on Twitch, and on YouTube, make sure you give us a follow, a subscribe, a delete as appropriate, and make sure you never miss another World Pro Racing race again. From myself, Kieran McGinley, and from Chris Buxton, it's been a pleasure to bring these races to you. We hope you've had a fantastic time. A big shout out as well to our stewards in Adrian Figallo and George Muscat, and the men behind the camera in Justin Mifsud and Nathan Mifsud. Until next time, hopefully we will see you again very, very soon for another exciting event at World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real. Until then, take care of yourselves, and good night.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.